Hey, welcome to another Monday mindfulness session with Root Work. So today I wanted to focus on addiction, and I wanted to because that is one of my passions, and that is something that I do. I am a master's addictions counselor. And so I wanted to give some advice on relapse prevention. I want you to understand that relapse is not a thing. It's not a singular event. It's actually a set of it's a set of things that are going on, and it's a cycle of events that is happening long before the physical relapse happens. So going back to some of my other videos, this is where the understand what's going on in the mind and understanding that at some point it will manifest physically in the body as above, so below. So, and when I correlate that with relapse prevention, the relapse actually starts sometimes weeks, sometimes even months prior to the actual relapse happening. And so this could be triggered by events, okay, which is it's very similar to being able to understand the emotional cycle. And so understanding that there's a trigger of events, whether it be a singular event or one event or a couple of events that happen. Nevertheless, it's going to be how you interpret those events that happen. Your interpretation, whether it be rooted in fact or written in completely what it is that you're able to observe, you're going to emotionally react. Okay, when we emotional react to that, we only are dealing with a few. I want you to understand, we are only dealing with a few positive emotions. Most emotions that we encounter are going to be on the negative side. And I don't want to say negative because there's a duality in all, but the way that we are taught to view those emotions, you're going to be dodging more negative emotions than you are positive emotions. Therefore, if you lack coping skills to be able to deal with being embarrassed, feeling down, things like that, you're going to have a more difficult time managing your emotions, which then is going to move into your mental state and how and what you feel like you need to do about those emotions. And so that mental state, when we are up there in that emotional stage of relapse, we are, kind of getting away from the routines that we were in, the things that we were doing to keep us sober, to keep our minds positive. You can typically see some changes in behavior there if you are present. It is there, that we may find ourselves isolating a little bit more. Isolation doesn't necessarily mean that you're not visually present, but you may not be mentally present. You may be in the room, but your mind may be somewhere else. You may find yourself in a very reminiscent, nostalgia type of energy. We do know that addiction, it's difficult to deal with the new when you're you're rooted in the past, and a lot of who you are is rooted in the past. Things may not excite you that once used to excite you. All these things are normal. What's not normal is not developing the coping skills to understand that we must flow with our emotions and try not to become the emotion, okay? Especially because we only deal with limited positive emotions. So therefore, we're going to have to understand that when we are in we're in that emotional place, the only buffer between there and the physical act of relapse is the mental place, and that is where you're able to think positively, think about your thinking, and then put in positive coping skills. 9 times out of 10, if you're thinking negative, then you're going to cope negatively. Okay, you're going to find a negative coping skill. So if I am upset, or maybe things are not going the way I want to, or maybe even, I got this great new job, but for some reason I'm overwhelmed. So overwhelm is not a positive emotion. We're not going to view it. We would have to tell ourselves mentally, okay, I am overwhelmed, but this is everything that I asked for. And so I got to figure out the skills that I need to be able to, rather create a different flow to this so that it's more with ease. What can I do to make myself less overwhelmed? Well, if the only thing that you've ever done in the past when you felt overwhelmed was to use drugs, 9 times out of 10, the subconscious mind is going to go take you to where it was the last time that you felt overwhelmed. And then you're going to go do something that you intentionally did not plan on doing, but because that's the only coping skill that came up, that's what you're going to do. Then comes the consequences of that. So it's going to be more so It's going to be so more now that you're going to now have to deal with the consequence of the choices that you make. Okay, so if the choice that you made wasn't good, 9 times out of 10, the consequence is going to be worse, right? Because now not only have you had this ongoing sobriety, okay, and maybe you have been building trust again, maybe you have been building relationships, over again that had, kind of fell to the floor during the time of, your active state, being in the active stage of of using. So now you've repaired some of those things, and now your consequences are going to directly affect all of the things that you've been working on. So not only are you going to probably have some negative pushback from the people around you, but just think about how you're going to feel about yourself, right? Because it's us that we're going to let down the most when we act on decisions like that. So we're going to let ourselves down, which then triggers another event. However, now this is an induced state of negative emotions, because nothing's going to come good from the emotions that you're going to feel. Again, nobody's going to want to feel embarrassed. Nobody's going to want to feel like they let themselves down. Nobody's going to want to feel like that now they really have to isolate because the people that are around them can't trust them anymore. So now you put yourself in probably, 50-60% of all negative emotions. Well, if you never had the coping skills to deal with the emotion of feeling overwhelmed because things were going good in your life, you are definitely not going to have the coping skill to deal with the consequences that comes from the choice that you make, which is the reason why it's important for us to think about our thinking. Stay present in the day and find things to be happy and grateful about, because again, there are limited emotions when it comes to feeling good. So we have to make sure that we are positively reinforcing when we are in a great state so that we can continue to create those states for ourselves. Now, when we're dealing, opiates and stimulants are very different. So, opiates, they induce a very down-like type of energy. They're going to bring you all the way down. They're central nervous system depressants. So it's going to not only bring your state of thinking down, but it's going to bring your heart rate down, which is why most people, when they have an overdose, they pass away because their heart stops beating. Stimulants act very different. They stimulate someone. So a person with a stimulant addiction is going to find a more difficult time staying sober, because if you feeling good and you want to stay in that state of mind, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to use. If you're feeling like you lack energy, and you don't have enough energy, maybe you're overwhelmed and you don't have enough energy, you're going to feel like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to get energy. So it becomes the solution. My nose fell out. Sorry. It becomes the solution to our problem long before it becomes our enemy. Right. And so that is the reason why we're 9 times out of 10 going to go get that coping skill all the time. Keep in mind that our subconscious mind's job is to go and find the solution to our problems. If in your toolbox, the only solution to the majority of your problems are using, then that is where the subconscious mind is going to go. It doesn't have any other options. So if I'm happy, I need to use. If I'm feeling down, I need to use. If I'm feeling isolated, I need to use. If I'm embarrassed, I need to use. If I feel like I'm not, because this is the remedy. This is the job that you gave it. And so just like anything else, when we are going in our minds and our minds is going to help us solve problems, it's going to go back and it's going to go remember. It's not the job's mind to make the decision for you. The mind of the job is just to go to remind you. That's what the importance of the memory is. It's you that has to make a conscious decision and be aware of the decisions that you are making and whether they're going to make the situation worse or whether they're actually going to be a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay, so for those in addictions, keep trying. Don't do what does not work. Find yourself some more coping skills. Find ways to positively reinforce your happiness without the use of drugs, and start over. Don't just keep going down the same path. All right, I hope this helps, and tune back in again next week for another Mindfulness Monday.